however, it would pretty much leave them tapped out.
Yeah.
They would about be maxed out. That was the impression I got from the town council.
Now, they do not themselves as a town plan to do any water line extensions.
They would like to put a tank at the head of Goojog, and it would require a small extension, and that's detailed in there as well. That's detailed on there as well. Now, I don't really know how detailed the commission want to get into this today. I know you all have a pretty busy agenda. Something me and Charles discussed was maybe the next meeting we had first time, advertise in the paper, get the public, as much of the public in here so we can have a real question and answer session.
I think it helps us two ways to have this document. One is to work with the public service districts, but it is really so the public can see what's going on and learn the process and how they might be able to, it's one of those things that there's not enough money, but there's too many needs or whatever, but the PSDs are going to make some decision. They're going to put some water in. It's just a matter of not just who asks for it, who needs it, but it's a matter of those two things, plus the number of customers per mile has a lot to do with it.
Right, correct. Customers per mile and cost per customer. I have a director of PSD advised me that the ideal amount is in the range of 16,000. 16,000, you said, is about your green light zone. That's about the time where you can really, where it really becomes cost feasible to get at it. And there is plenty of projects around and even under that number that are included in the documentation.
I would prefer to wait until the next meeting to go into detail when we do notify the public, because this is our census for water,
Correct.
So they can see like you said, the number of customers on each road. Correct. Because it does boil down to money, and when we say that, I don't want the public to think that we just don't want to fund these projects. It's a numbers game, and if you don't meet the required number of people per road, then the state and federal government, they don't provide the funding necessary.
Right.
So I would love to see this room full of people to ask questions.
As would I, as would I.
Well, I think it's important too, before you have a meeting, that maybe the newspaper make sure that they put out what roads we're talking, as far as what ones are on the list and things of that nature. That way people know, if they know ahead of time that they're not on the list, and when they come in, they can talk about that. Whereas if they won't know unless they're here that day. So if we could get some way that we can put this information in a summary form in each district for the people to look at in the paper, then they'll know whether they need to come in and talk or whether they need to find out. Because a lot of the things is answered by what you have. And a lot of people look at that and say, well, I'm on this section right here. But I do think there'll be a lot of people that's not on this that will say, well, this is just right off this, and those are the ones we really want to kind of get to talk to, so that we can see if we need some extensions off the things we're talking about here and things.
I agree. I agree.
Would you be willing to, just trying to think about what's been said here, is a game plan might be that we pick a day, all day, and have 2 hours for Branchville Midkiff, and we just focus on those people, have their PSD people here, you and anybody from that community, then we go to Lincoln, then we go to Harts, and rather than having everybody at one time, maybe us have 3 meetings or 4 meetings throughout a day, and that way we can talk about people's needs rather than trying to get it too cloudy. It would be for me. It'd be difficult to focus on it.
That sounds great. If you tried to do all 6 in one day, you might end up with overload of information. There'd be so many numbers and so many, hopefully, so many people that that may not be included on this.
Well, right, and so maybe we'll ask the paper to help us, but maybe we should do a little work ourselves and actually put an ad in the paper, given the date, time, and place. This is when we're going to talk about all the areas that deal with Branchville Midkiff PSD, and maybe list those according to your information we have here, just sort of give a highlight. And if you want to come in and talk about those, be here, and we'll do that.
Sounds great. If you gentlemen tell me a day, I will ensure that, or days, maybe plural, then I'll make sure I'm available, and I will attempt to make the directors of the respective PSDs available as well.
Well, the commission will, at the end of this meeting before we leave, we'll come up with a day or two and dedicate it to water plants.
That sounds
If you're
great.
agreeable to come back and help us with it.
That sounds great. That'd give everybody involved to go over this data, give the public time to look it over. It, soon the journal already has their hands on it, so they'll be able to get it in the eyes of the public. And you're right, there probably are some roads on there that aren't designated as real need, but maybe subjectively.
Well,
They're
it
easy.
just gives us a, you know, we're looking for a tool, and so let's let the public have a chance to critique it a little bit maybe.
I agree completely.
Okay, but it looks good. Appreciate the work you've done, and we'll just leave that for today, and then we'll pick it up like we talked about from.
Well, if there's nothing else, I believe the gentleman had the documentation as the contract stipulates. I'd like to,
Have you got a final bill to give us?
No, sir, I believe I submitted a first bill. Just a contract is all it was. But if there's nothing else, I'd like to be able to call this, the data creation part of this project complete.
Yeah.
Presentation, of course, has more to go, and I'm more than willing to lend my time for that.
Okay, and we'll get you paid for your contract, but then we'll ask you to come back and help us.
Sounds great. Also, behind me, there's 6 maps right here. I'm going to deliver each one of those to each respective PSD as per terms of the contract. Some of the large ones, like, you know, Hamlin and Salt Rock, things like that, might not even need it, but they'll take it. Everybody likes maps.
Yeah, well, I think it's good that they have it and have it before we come in here to talk. That way they can look at it, review it, and critique it themselves.
Sound good?
Mike's here now, you just gave his name.